Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome back. Let's see. Let me know if there's any problems. I think I'm okay here. Good morning, Anita. Good to see you. Good morning, Kira. We're going to come back to that conversation again just for a few minutes that we had last night. I just can't resist. Good morning, Joelle in Calgary. Good morning. By the way, I know Calgary is different than Nova Scotia, but I just want to be sure everybody saw that great post of like garbage bags of wool in Nova Scotia for something like $25. It's probably gone, but I posted it in the Facebook group, Rug Cooking and Punch Needle Club. I'm hoping somebody goes and gets on that because that is a crazy bargain of the century thing. Good morning, Sheila. Good to see you. Good morning, Mom in Granby. Oh, good morning, Crystal. Good morning in Nova Scotia. I wonder if you knew about that bag. I should have just written to you directly, right? That would have been smart. Finally able to get some work done with the little ones back in school, yet next to no COVID here. So it's great when it works out that way. When there is next to no COVID, you should get on with life. Of course, that's makes perfect sense. I'm so happy for you. Oh, is Vera happy to be back too, or is that going to be a sad thing? Carol, good morning from Wisconsin. Donna, good morning in Alberta. Donna, I think we're still waiting on Anna. I'm going to have to find out if she got that package so we can run that stained glass class. And Penny, good morning in North Carolina. I don't think I've seen you for a while. Chrissy, ready for coffee time. All the buddies are here. Linda, good morning. Good to see you. And Donna, Cynthia, good morning. Good morning, Linda, in Massachusetts. Oh, good. All right, Catherine, good morning. April, good morning. Good to see you all. So a bit of a bleak day here. It is what it is. I'm going to scroll down so I can see if you leave me any comments. I got going on one tangent this morning, and then I switched gears. I switched lanes. I got going on, just so you have a bit of foreshadowing, a cliffhanger to tomorrow. I was going to run an episode on one of my favorite books, not just primitive book, but one of my favorite books, the Edith O'Neill book that I think is called Rugs from the Red Cape or Rugs from My Red Cape. I'm going to do that tomorrow. So if you have that book and you know that book, you want to look at it before, whatever, I want to talk about that tomorrow because I think she's such a good person and I think she's such a master of the primitive style. I was really excited about that, but I switched gears. Let's see. Anne, good morning. No, you haven't gotten the kit yet. Anne, this is crazy. Good morning, Michelle. And I'm going to track the tracking again. I know it's probably a Bermuda Triangle thing because it hits customs and then it's like, a point of no return. But it is an extraordinarily long time. Is there an echo? Oh, great. All right, let me try this. Let me try putting this right here. A little bit of feedback. No, I have, you know what? Let me shut, that's not a bad thought. I have YouTube open. Let me shut YouTube. Let's see if that does anything. I didn't even think of that because I set the chat up in YouTube and then I come here so I can see all your comments. Let me know if that worked any kind of wonders. Hopefully it did. Gosh, we're closing in on it though, aren't we? We're closing in on it. But anyway, so I'm going to do the Edith O'Neill tomorrow because I got looking at this book last night, and another crazy conversation happened last night that got me derailed too. But I got looking at this book, so this is where I'm going to head in just a minute. Still echoing. Does someone else have a computer on? No, Kira. I know that would be a good one. There's nobody here but me. No. I wonder if it's a really good thought. There is a recording studio next door, but the guys are never there during the day, not at this time of day. They're like night owls. So it can't be that. How bad is it? Is it quite bad? So frustrating. I'm wondering if I should, what I'm going to do? Tell me if this is disastrous. I'm going to unplug my big expensive mic, which I think is this one. Now, let me know. Yeah. Let me know if that's any better. What I'm thinking of now is that with the new computer, started out fine. With the new computer, the new camera, I bet that new camera being as expensive as it is, I bet that has an ingrained built-in mic. And I wonder if that's doubling it up. Really? I wonder you're kidding. Can you turn down the gain control? Jennifer, you are so good. You know, I turned off the microphone. Let's see. Okay. Holy mackerel. So the $300 microphone, not so good. No, I mean, it was great before when we used the old camera. Okay, good. Oh, that's so depressing. Anybody want to buy a super expensive microphone? You know, you just don't know. You just don't know till you're right on the threshold of stupidity and spending money. You do anything to make the problem of the quality end. So I'm going to leave it off. Let me know if that turns out to be not a bad call, and I will think of some great thing in the future to use my microphone for. Maybe I'll start recording CDs again, do some more cabaret work, just like the crazy old days. We'll see what happens. So I got going looking at this book. And I want to talk about this book today. This book is called Contemporary Hooked Rugs. It's in the list underneath. I put a connection to it from the Amazon affiliate account that I have. And remember how we were saying that the book itself, you know, it's a hardcover book. It almost looks like a children's book format. Is gorgeous, and it runs through the alphabet. Her whole collection, her whole series of sheep that she hooked. It is quite an expensive book. It's quite a collectible book. You're not going to find a bargain. Oh, do you, Lucy? I used to love it. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe that's a to be continued. That was the good old days. Now, that book is, you're never going to find it for under $55, unless you find it in a bookstore and you're real lucky like that. But in general, it is an expensive book. But you know what? This is also a great book, Contemporary Hooked Rugs. This is one I was just showing. Yes, please give it a thumbs up if you can. I linked this below. This book has the entire series of the Patty Yoder sheep. The entire series, the entire alphabet is in this book, which on Amazon, if you click the link, is like $20. Plus you get a lot of other stuff in it too. So this was a great discovery. I know I've had this book for years, but I don't look at them constantly, you know, and I kind of forgot it. Like, I know I'd seen the sheep before, but who knows where, who knows when. But they're all here. They are all here. So the first chapter of this book, it's actually dedicated to Patty, because I think, again, I said she died in 2005 and this book came out in 2006. The ABCs, the Alphabet of Sheep by Patty Yoder, the whole series. So if all you, good morning, Beverly. If all you want is to see these and to read a little bit about them, this was all courtesy of her husband, allowing them to be published in full as a series in this book. If you just want to see them and admire them and look at them, you can get this book instead. If that satisfies, you know, whatever you're feeling about the series. Each one, it's not as sort of succinct as what I was looking at the other night, how she herself wrote sort of long passages for most of the letters. This one has like a little excerpt in each one, but the images are all here, all of them. So I thought that was definitely worth mentioning, good to know, and there is a little blurb next to each one. For example, let's see one that we haven't seen. They're all so cute. U is for Ursula, always the underdog. And it says number 21 in a series. Now remember how I said she didn't hook them starting with letter A and ending with letter Z. She hooked them according to what she thought of and when. So Ursula is actually number 21, and in this book it also tells you the chronology, because I think that has not that the Z rug was the one she was least passionate about and the A was the one that she was on fire about. Not that that's how it works, but it is interesting to know in what order she hooked them, because it is part of her life story. This is part of her memory museum, and it's nice to know what popped into her head first, just for fun, academic reasons of thinking and interpreting and all that. So number 21 is used for Ursula. Ursula and the Yoder's little white dog Jessie under the big top. So with this book, that's the kind of blurb that you're looking to get. You're not going to get a 3-paragraph explanation of what inspired that, but you will see all of the rugs at a really good price and a little bit on each one. I don't know if the author wrote it or if her husband wrote it, but they are all here, and I thought that was amazing. And I had to show you this because I mentioned this the other day, the V is for Victor that we looked at the other day, A Natural Vegetarian by Patty Yoder, number 10 in the series. So this one came early on, inspired by the painting The Summer by Giuseppe Arcimbaldi. It's not even a tongue twister, but I wanted to show you the rug, which is this one, because remember I said it was based on a very famous painting that I know that you've seen. And, it's made up, the whole composition is vegetable. The whole sheep's body is made up of vegetable. Now, I'm going to pause right after I show you this because I'm going to show you the inspiration. I printed out 2 this morning, so let's see what you can see. This one first, right? That's a really famous one. This is the artist who she is inspired by when she makes that rug, and this is another one by the same artist. Right? You can see everything in that is a vegetable. So we are talking about direct inspiration. That is clever, right, Lucy? So I'm just going to pause for 1 minute here. I'm not going to go off on a bender and get myself wound up or get you wound up. But I just want to touch on the subject another time. We'll probably keep returning to the subject of inspiration versus plagiarism and copyright issues, because it came up again last night in a full blast, full-on way on one of the Facebook groups. And I just have to repeat, we just did an episode on this on Friday, and I'm sure like 90% of the people in the rug cooking world don't watch my show and don't care what I have to say anyway. But I just have to say again, because it was a really tough thread to read. I read it once because I knew it was going to be a wind-up, and I have to stay away from wind-ups for myself. I just realized in reading it that the person who posted something along the lines of, and again, I read it briefly because I was protecting myself from the fallout of aggravation and wind-up. And the person who posted said something along the lines of, I would love to get permission from a photographer to use a photograph that he or she took of a famous person. So I'm thinking like, it's a celebrity person, it might be a political person, who knows, it didn't say. But she didn't say what she was using it for. And the ensuing thread was made up of a lot of hot remarks, hot temperature-wise, hot passionate-wise, a lot of knowledge and information coming, a lot of opinions that were not all right. And so I would always caution you, we've talked about copyright a few times. A lot of the things that are said on these Facebook forums are not true. If you were to approach like a middleman organization, like I always go to Artists' Rights, right? It's a website, Artists' Rights. You log on there, you put in the name of the artist, whether it's a photographer, sculptor, whoever. Remember, if the person has been dead for 100 years, it's not even an issue. You don't even have to do that. But if that is not the issue, you put in the person's name, you find out, this is a free service, you find out if they are under copyright, and if they are, you can send the group an email, still for free, everything for free, to say, I would like to use this image. Can I use it? And they will actually write you back and tell you yes or no. And if you say to them, I want to use it for a series of rug cooking designs or collages that I'm making, I'm going to sell them commercially, then they will say, well, how many do you expect to sell? And you say, I hope to sell 100. Then they will say, well, there will be a fee associated with that, and this will be what the fee is. Often they'll say, well, it sounds like it's partially for an educational purpose. There is no fee. If it's something that you're hooking for your over-the-mantle living room, you shouldn't even be having this conversation online. If it's in your living room and you're not going to advertise that you hooked some image that you are in love with, I'm going to say it. Just hook it. Don't show people. Don't take photographs of it. If inevitably House Beautiful or Good Housekeeping comes to your house to do a full photo spread and they see that you have the thing above the mantle, worry about it then. But if you love the thing, don't be asking people, if you can do the thing, especially if it's not for commercial purposes, because the thing that bugged me about this thread was that she didn't say what the usage was. And when you get in touch with the middleman to say, can I use the image? The first and usually only question they will ask is, what is the usage? Because the answer will depend on that. You cannot answer the question truly or succinctly without knowing what the usage is. So that's what's so frustrating about these threads, because you tend to get people answering who have situations of maybe being jaded, having work stolen in the past, and it gets to be a bit emotional. And the question of copyright is not completely black and white. That's why there's a lot of free help out there, so you don't trip yourself up. But when you're answering someone else's question from an emotional point of view, not a fact point of view, because copyright is also a moving target, ever changing, then you're not going to give someone a good answer. And I hate to see people under, crossfire of Facebook, whatever threads, particularly when the right questions haven't been asked, and you're seeing a lot of people chiming in with gems of knowledge that if they don't understand the question, they're certainly not giving a legitimate answer. So I'm just saying that be careful. Don't subscribe to wind-ups. Be careful. Check groups like Artists' Rights when you want to use something. And again, if you are hooking something for over the mantle, put it over the mantle, and don't take pictures of it and post it in groups, because people will descend and attack, and you will have more trouble from Facebook groups than you will have from the original artist, who knows that you are not profiting from an image over your mantle, and that will never come to be. So be careful about that. I actually read that book, and I put it in the link this weekend. I actually, Kira was part of this whole thing last night, and I felt so bad. As soon as I saw that she was getting involved, I felt like I had to make a comment. Thank you, Penny. And it was funny because I logged on to my Facebook to write to Kira and say, back down, back away, because I can tell you're getting triggered, and it's just not worth it. Protect yourself from these crazy online things, because if you're like me, things like this get to you. And while I was writing her, I could see that she was writing me. I saw the dots to say, help, there's crazy stuff going on. It was just funny that we crossed that way. It was almost like there was a big S in the sky for Superman, and I was like, what's going on? What's going on with Kira? It was kind of funny. But anyway, I just have to say that book that I told you about that was in Rug Hooking Magazine, which issue was it? This month's issue. I don't know if I have it around. It was the one that I showed you Friday. Here it is. That referenced this great book that was referenced in this thread, and it was obviously, the article wasn't read and the book wasn't read. I listened to this book on audio cassette this weekend. Actually, the trilogy, the 3-part, Steal Like an Artist, right? This whole article is about this conversation. So it's funny that it was referenced, because nothing that is said in this article was actually apparent on the thread. But this trilogy, I put it in our description today if you would like to read it. It's not just for artists, it's not just for rug hookers, it's for life. It liberates you, it gives you validation to know that there is nothing new under the sun. And do you know where that quote comes from? There is nothing new under the sun. It comes from Ecclesiastes in the Bible. It's a biblical, there is nothing new under the sun. People have been saying this for a long time, but this trilogy, I listened to it on audiobook. They're very small books. Super inspiring, super liberating, tells you the truth, tells you how far you can go, not coming from a jaded point of view, not coming from an emotional point of view, just telling you the facts of what you can do as an artist and how there is nothing new under the sun. And the whole sort of overarching point of this series is, hello, Lisa, is nothing comes from nothing, right? He keeps saying that. It's like, remember that song from the Sound of Music, nothing comes from nothing. It was the stage version, not the movie version. Very nice song. But nothing does come from nothing. There is nothing new under the sun. Everything is a recycled idea, and it's just how you reinterpret it your way that will make a difference. You know, you can use an image like I just showed you, right? Where'd you go? Like this, and make it into this, because there is nothing new under the sun. Okay, so don't let people on I'm stopping, but don't let people on Facebook forums tell you that they know everything, because they don't always know everything, and nor do I. That's why I check every single time I use something. But at the same time, I have to say, as a side note, Facebook gets me down, man. It gets me down, and I feel like this weird combative tone on Facebook, no matter what group you're in, is a weird mutation of bullying, and I don't like. Anyway, this book contains the entire Patty Yoder alphabet of sheep. So, beloved, available, and affordable. All of those things. And you know, it says right after the Patty Yoder series, it says other ABC rugs. Now, I need help with this. I'm looking for information on this because I'm curious. Now, it says these 2 rugs are examples of pieces from a series of 42 mats curated by Joanne Watson. They were created to depict the ABCs of different countries of the world. Does anybody know about this? Because there are only 2. I'm going to show them to you. Australia by Tracy Jamar and Belize by Gail Dufresne. I'm looking at these two here. Does anybody know about this series? I Googled it like crazy and I couldn't find anything else. I thought, that's a neat idea for a series too. Different places, different locales. You know, it's different. If you know anything about that, I'd be so curious. I would love to see. I'm guessing it was some kind of an exhibit. Love the snooze feature. Yeah, exactly, Sheila. You know, everybody knows what they can take, right? My threshold is like hair trigger. It's just not there anymore. But everybody knows what they can take. It's just a lot of people take a lot, and a lot of people give a lot, and it's not always nice to be on the receiving end. But I was curious about that, the ABC rugs, and I'd love to learn more. And this book is chock full of interesting, sort of heartwarming, very cozy. The subtitle, Themes and Memories, is perfect because it's very personal, this book. You know, we see a lot of these anthologies by Schiffer, and they're all fantastic. You have to have them all. This one is very personal, and it goes along the lines of series. It seems to be relating to different artists who have done series, whether they be personal series like The Sheep or the State series that are all done by different people. This is not the book that has Molly Naitobi's State series, but that's in another Schiffer book, so that's probably the reason. It's a really, really nice book, and it brought me to this artist who I've heard of and I didn't know much about, that I want to share this article and something else I found. This is Rosemary Levin, something else I found online. Now, when we talk about our own personal stories and what we hook, alphabet soup, I'll come back to that tomorrow, your stories, and yes, I am still putting the book together. I promise I'll get back to you on that. I've got to get through these orders, broken record. Rosemary, this chapter is about Rosemary's work, particularly about her dog. She did a series of her dog, and I want to read part of it to you because it's so inspiring to know when a whole series comes from one person. You want to know why. You want to know how that evolved, how that happened, because for some of us it seems overwhelming to do a series, even if it's a short series. It's good to know the story behind the series because you are all creative people and you all have many series in you. And whether or not you want to tap into those series is a different question. But they're there, and it's nice to know that they're there, right? It's nice to be aware that they're there. So this one is the chapter is called Our Four-Legged Friends. I'm going to be doing some paraphrasing as usual. So this is the story of Lucky, that's the dog's name, by Rosemary Levin. She says, this is not Rosemary, this is the author. Entirely self-taught, Rosemary Levin creates hooked rugs that are unique. Her art is untouched by any influences outside herself and her environment. So true folk art, right? All of her designs tend to use bright, clean colors and pure graphic lines. Rosemary has completed more than 100 rugs in the past 6 years, and the Lucky series is a wonderful expression of her passion. Of this series, Rosemary writes, now this is Rosemary's own words, "For my 40th birthday, my husband Gary gave me a black and white dog piñata with a tag reading IOU around its neck. This was Gary's way of saying that it was time for our family to have a dog. We looked in the local pet stores and at the Humane Society, and we answered ads for a year, but we were unable to find a dog. Around this time, I received word that my father was terminally ill. Although it had been many years since we talked, I decided to call him. After getting through the difficulties of reconnection, I began telling him about our search for a dog, and he told me that he had been breeding border collies for the past few years, and he had a puppy that he thought would be perfect for us. The next morning, Lucky was on a plane from Dothan, Alabama, arriving in Bangor, Maine, just before midnight. When Lucky came off the plane, she was standing in her kennel, looking out at us with the most soulful eyes I had ever seen. I wondered if she'd been standing with anticipation for the entire flight." I'm going to choke myself up. Let me show you some pictures, and then I'm going to continue reading. This is such a sweet story. I'm going to show you some of the Lucky ones. You see Lucky here with his little red vest on in a boat, in his lifeboat, in his rowboat. I'm going to show you some more too. So she says, "Lucky rode home with us and embarked on a new life. Since she had grown up on a farm, she was not used to being allowed in the house, much less up on the furniture. And although she had been around horses, cows, and other dogs, she'd never shared a space with 2 cats. However, Lucky was very gentle and immediately adjusted to her new family life in Maine.
Each morning and afternoon she walked our daughter to and from school. She chased squirrels and herded waves on the beach, walked with me to the art gallery where I worked, and became known throughout the town. She loved to hike on trails of down East Maine with us, and when we got our kayaks, she would ride in mine as we paddled about, wearing her bright red life vest and drawing applause from everyone who saw us. And then I'm moving down a little bit. She said these sketches, meaning like in her mind, became the Lucky Rug series. Each piece is made with hand-dyed wool. She dyes her own wool. Includes bits of Lucky's fur and my hair, which a friend has spun together into yarn. Isn't that a beautiful thought? Lucky continues to, so when this book was written in 2006, Lucky is alive. Lucky continues to enrich our lives. She keeps us healthy and fit. She comforts us. She brings us pleasure and entertainment. She's a constant companion. She's a companion to everybody in their little Maine community. But is this a great idea? I mean, whether you have a pet or not, it's just locking into one aspect of your life, something that's important to you, something that defines you, something that keeps life lively, keeps the days going. These are more of the Lucky series. Apparently, this is the first one that she did. She did this one in a workshop. Hope that's in focus. I love this one at the top with the pumpkins around Lucky. But you can see it is very folky, right? She's not really drawing from other people. She's drawing from her own drawings, right? Or at least she's interpreting things that she's seen, because nothing comes from nothing and there's nothing new under the sun. She's interpreting things the way that she interprets them, and is creating this totally unique series. So I want to just add on to that because I think it's a beautiful series and it's in this book. It is super sweet, super sweet. It just, your inspiration can come from everywhere. You don't have to think on this epically grand scale. Just draw something that's part of your life, that's meaningful to you. And you might find that it becomes a series. It evolves over the years as a side project. I know I'm getting late on time, but I loved that story so much that I looked up Rosemary Levin. And I found a bunch of articles on her in local Maine newspapers and magazines. She's way up north in Maine. So this article came out of Maine Boats, which is it's online, but it's also a printed publication, February 2019, and it's called Hooked on Rugs. I'm going to show you what I printed it out. This is like an event in the town, this thing with the boats, and this is her self-portrait. And I just wanted to paraphrase a little of this because, again, it gives you a feel of what Rosemary is like, what her life is like, where her heart is, where her priorities are, and why she works in the vein that she does. So the Lucky series is a little bit earlier. And this article says, Rosemary Levin, this is by Carl Little for Maine Boats. Rosemary Levin is a rug hooker and environmentalist. When she sat down recently to discuss her art and life, she began talking about the shorebirds in Correa, Maine. Actually, the absence of them. With expanded harvesting of seaweed, some of the birds seem to have disappeared from local waters, she said. When you take the food away, Levin explained with concern, it changes the whole environment. In the 15 years that her husband Gary and her have lived in this picturesque village in the southeastern tip of the Goldsboro Peninsula, they have supported a variety of conservation organizations, including Frenchman Bay Frenchman Bay, like Daphne du Maurier, right? Lists a bunch of the Heritage Trust, a bunch of bird preserves that they belong to. She's very passionate as an environmentalist. Now, this is a project that she's working on. She's using her skill and talent as a rug hooker to do this project. Rosemary Levin's wild and woolly self-portrait, that's what I just showed you. In 2004, Levin began pledging part of her art to protect the environment. That was the year that she began hooking a series of rugs, so this is a different series, one a year, featuring stylized images of the famed Rockefeller bridges in Acadia National Park. She donates each rug to the Friends of Acadia to be auctioned off at an annual fundraising gala. On schedule to complete all 17 bridges by 2021, so this year, Levin already has been working on the rug for next summer's auction. This one, her 15th bridge, will feature the Jordan Pond Road Bridge in Seal Harbor. The rugs have sold for as much as $6,000, with all proceeds going to park stewardship. This is what I can do for land conservation, she said with conviction. Levin is currently organizing a show of 30 rug hookers around the theme Acadia Buzz. So from this article I gleaned, and by the way, she works on monk's cloth, just so you know, 100% cotton monk's cloth, and she dyes her own wool. What I gleaned from this article on Rosemary, she's from Indiana. She was working at a frame store when she was younger, and her husband happened to walk in. He was a lieutenant in the Advanced Infantry Training military branch, and she says, I framed him. And they ended up getting married and having a family and moving many, many times with the military and settling in Maine. And they opened a building called Chapter 2 in Correa, Maine. And both she and her husband are extreme sort of activists, environmental activists, but also artists of many kinds, very diverse interests. She does her rug hooking and she teaches that. I don't know where she is at this moment in time, things being as crazy as they are, but they both are prolific artists and they do all kinds of things, lots of projects, lots of series projects, lots of projects tied in with the community. They sell books, they host events constantly. She does also classes in eco dye, so natural dyeing. They teach like fitness and different kinds of like Eastern fitness and that kind of thing. I mean, this article was just so interesting to read. It is completely online. Maine Boats, February 2019. Whether they're clearing a trail or leading an exercise class at the Goldsboro Community Center on Pond Road, the Levins are devoted to Correa, their town. Rosemary's strong sense of community is on display every year at the Thanksgiving dinner she and a friend began hosting in 2006. So this whole article is about her participation in the community, her tie to the community. This is her beaver dam hooked rug. That was one of her sort of environmental themes. See, very graphic, very simple. But what a beautiful article. I thought it was such a nice supplement. This was a series, too, The Boats, that involved a lot of other people in the community. This article contains the whole story of that. She did the final one with all 12 of the boats, I guess. But this is another one. This is one of the Rockefeller bridges that she does yearly and auctions off. What a beautiful thing to have the talent, to have the time, to have the mental space, energy, opportunity to make rugs and to do something with them like she's doing, to be able to auction them off and send them to a cause that she cares a lot about. What an awesome person, right? What an awesome person. There are such good people out in the world. This is another one of the bridges they show in the article. I know I'm running over, so I'm going to cut it out, but what a great series. So she came up with this beautiful series of Lucky the Dog rugs, and then she came up with this beautiful series of the boats, and now the Rockefeller bridges in Acadia National Park. Just, inspiration. So I didn't get very far with that book. There's more I want to show you. Happy DeFranza, who I've met, is the next person I wanted to talk about in this book. So tomorrow, let's just come back to this, finish this up, and then I'm going to switch gears, and we're going to move on to the Edith O'Neill book. Incidentally, I want to tell you, if you're projecting forward to tomorrow's episode, the Edith O'Neill book, Rugs from the Red Cape or My Red Cape, if you go online, you'll see that is very expensive. The cheapest one, there's one copy right now on, I think, Amazon. I think it's $90. I want you to know that since that book has been published, she, on her blog site, offers the entire book as a PDF for $15. So I will remind you about that tomorrow, but don't go nuts and go on and order a $90 book when you could have the same thing for $15. So I'll give you more information on that tomorrow, unless you really need the book, right? Oh, I'm glad, Linda. I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad. I felt bad last night, too, about that whole thing. And we really have to support each other. We just, yeah, what else is there, really? What else is there? So I will see you tomorrow with Edith O'Neill and Primitives and a little bit of Happy DeFranza at the beginning. And in the meantime, have a great day. Take care of yourselves. I'm not going to say be nice to each other because I know that you are. This is such a nice group. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Check out the links that I put underneath.